Hey, it's Alex Radical from Board Game Co., and it's time for another Kickstarter roundup, crowdfunding roundup, Kickstarter. It's all going to blur. Although that said, I don't think there are any GameFound campaigns this week, so maybe it is Kickstarter roundup for right now. Now, apologies in advance for how long this video is. It's not that I know how long it is, but I know how much I have to cover, and I assume if you look at the length down below, the timestamps and all that, I assume it's longer than it should be. I have water, I have my squishy toy to keep me going. It's all good, let's do this. One take, same as usual. Or we'll try for same as usual. This might be long enough that I'll get interrupted and have to pause. We will see. In any case, starting off the bat with, and first of all, let's do schedule. Schedule-wise, it's just going to be cancel Kickstarters, updates, board game adjacent. Towards the end, I will have a new thing that I've actually meant to include the past several weeks and kept forgetting, but I will have a pick of the week, both a personal favorite as well as a value pick of the week, both of those. I'm going to be trying to include that every week. Hopefully I actually remember, and all, as usual, timestamps below for any individual segment that you are interested in. So, starting off the bat, cancel Kickstarters. Prison Architect. No, I will not be talking extensively about this one. That is not a topic I want to get into in the minute and a half I have. But Prison Architect, effectively by PSC Games, designed by David Tussie and someone else. I don't actually know. Apologies to the other designer. I don't know the designer's name offhand. But basically, this is going to be a game based on the video game that is a combination of the lack of general interest or price point issues and or concern over the theme that we've seen from the general gaming community has resulted in this being cancelled. It's a very sensitive subject, one that I am not getting into casually just off the cuff, but the short version is that it's currently cancelled, and it does not look like it's coming back, although the statement from PSC Games does not necessarily clarify that. I know that the designers have said they do not want to be associated with it, that they are stepping away from the game, they are relinquishing all rights, royalties, whatever, to PSC Games, and PSC Games is currently listening to the concerns of the wider gaming community, so I have no idea what the future of this project is. I don't know if it comes back, I don't know if it doesn't come back, and that's basically the short version of Prison Architect. And moving on, we have Dice Adjacent, or Board Game Adjacent, I should say. And this one's going to be a dice Kickstarter for Groovy Dice, mid-century inspired stone RPG dice. Now, I'm curious what it means by mid-century. I guess it means 1950s. Is that what it means? I don't know. But these are groovy dice, to be clear. 289 backers, $21,000 raised. And these are basically going to be groovy looking dice. They're colorful. They're pretty. They're hard to see the dice face on some of them. Like looking at this over here, or this one here, or even this one here. Some of the dice faces are going to be hard to see, so take that into account. Also, of course, price point wise mean $35 for 2 D20s. Although I'm a little confused about this one because it says 2 D20s, but then it says includes 1 D20. I don't know what that actually means, but past that, for $75 you can get a full set. Expensive, but that's what we've generally seen with these customized, pretty looking dice, that they have a specific target audience, but they can be expensive. I generally don't buy these things because I'm not an RPG person, and there's no way on earth you can get me to spend $75 on a pair of RPG dice, on a set of RPG dice. But I do know the people who like RPGs swear by not just the dice, but how many dice, and all the dice, and the cheapness of the dice, the expensiveness of the dice, the prettiness of the dice. So hey, we're talking about it. Moving on from there, we're going to have Oink Games on Twitch. So, this is going, not Twitch, Switch. Geez, this is what happens when you don't use either of those things. You just confuse them in 2 seconds. So, Switch and Twitch, except in this case it's just Switch. But Oink Games, if you're familiar, they bring a lot of those little Japanese themed, not Japanese themed, but Japanese small box games that are very popular, from Deep Sea Adventure to Startups to a whole bunch of other ones that I can't remember offhand, but a lot of them. But effectively, they are bringing their collection, or some aspects of their collection, to Switch. If you're interested, not going through the Kickstarter, not going through what's exactly being included or price points, but in case you are someone who likes Oink Games, and you have a Switch, or you plan on getting a Switch, well then this is something you may want to check out, because board games on electronic media, and that's cool, right? I mean, I like board games, I like computers, I like Switches, jeez, I can't get it right. I'm going to move on. Next one. Update time for some updates. So, Ice, this is not really an update to the game itself, rather I've talked about this already. They've updated a bunch of things, they're adding a 7th faction, they've added a whole bunch of new stuff throughout the stretch goals or daily reveals, whatever it is. I think it's stretch goal based, but whatever it is, Ice is going to be a game where you're digging beneath the ice. It has a very unique, innovative system, which this has a unique game board that allows you to build up like 5 different levels of ice, and you slowly progress going deeper and deeper, but you have to cover things on top, which results in an interesting spread as you have to uncover more and more on the surface in order order to get further down. And then eventually you lead to getting to one of the final tiles, which will also create a rule set for the next game. So when you get to that last edifice tile, it results in you creating a new rule for the next game, so that every game results in a slight shift to the subsequent game based on whatever edifice was revealed. Interesting game, interesting system. Only reason I'm talking about now is in addition to talking about it a few weeks ago, where I basically said this one's an interesting one that's hard for me to judge because it is fairly expensive for what you're getting, but, well, that's not true. It's fairly expensive for the game it is. I don't actually think it's expensive at all for what you're getting, given the unique nature of what they're trying to do here. But it's fairly expensive for the game it is, and that means it's going to come down to how the general market perceives it. It may well hold its value. It may well not. It falls into the it's a risk category. I don't have enough to compare this to be able to confidently talk about it. But what I can say is, having played it, I still think it's a risk, but I like it myself. I give this one a 4 to 5. It's one that I really enjoyed playing it. I found the scoring a little bit fiddly. I know they're still evaluating, looking into, and tweaking aspects of that, but the gameplay itself I found incredibly rewarding. I loved burrowing beneath the ice. I loved moving my team leader, my expedition leader, around the board, manipulating the archaeologists, which are a shared common pool of workers effectively, and being ultimately able to dig down further and further to get what you want. I love the system. I found it a lot of fun to play. I just want that scoring to be, well, for myself, on a selfish level in terms of designing games for what I want the scoring to be cleaned up and very different from what they have. But I ultimately, even in the current state, I would totally be, I am getting this one, to be clear, even in the current state, I would totally be in on this because it was very unique in what it's doing and a lot of fun. So I'm just updating you to tell you that I like this game and it's a lot of fun, and now that I think about it, it's 22 hours to go, which means by the time you watch this, it may be too late for you to actually back it. I assume they'll have a late pledge, so hopefully you get in on it. Moving on, we have an update for Chai Tea for 2. This one's not really an update so much a conversation. So, short version, actually, I will have a bit of a small update if you pay attention to Wednesday's videos. Wednesday's video this week will be another Deluxified board game components videos, where I'll be going over all the various dice trays that they have in this campaign. But this one is not about that right now. This one's more about the fact that I got a bunch of people asking me about shipping delays on Chai. Shipping delays are more specifically on Chai High Tea, and then the lack of feedback, responses, or whatever on Chai Tea for 2 from the creators. And I tried looking into it. I mean, to try looking into it means I went through the comments, the timelines on both campaigns, and to me, I'm not saying there's no issue here, but I think this is a bigger issue than people are making it out to be. I could be mistaken, but looking at the timeline for Chai High Tea, if you look at the timeline, the game, it's not even like a year old at this point. It seems to be that they were hoping to get it to you within a matter of like 4 or 5 months, and it turned into, almost twice that, but that timeline was incredibly small. This is not a game or campaign that's like 2 years overdue. This is a campaign that is a little bit overdue, and I think it's becoming a bigger issue than it needs to be, and this is the part where I will give credence or validity to the upset backers, that it does seem that the communication method that Dan and Corey are using are not necessarily as ideal as people want. And what I mean by that is they're doing a lot of like fluff updates of, 2 more weeks to the printer, or 1 more week, or something like that. They're just kind of saying things without saying enough. So it is frustrating people. Now, I would encourage people to realize this is a fairly large amount of stuff to be done by a fairly small team of people. Now, you might say, well, then they should hire more people. I get it. But you know what? It's easy to judge from the back of wherever you are. I would argue that they certainly could improve on the communication they are attempting to give, the way they are communicating, and the way they are saying what is and isn't happening. I don't think there's some giant conspiracy of, one campaign being used to fund the other, any of that. Most of the time when people think that's happening, it's not. Now, sometimes it is, but most of the time it is not what's happening. So I don't think there's any giant conspiracy going on. I don't think there's any major whatever past people who potentially could be communicating a little bit better, and I think it's being made into a bigger deal than it needs to otherwise be. I could be completely wrong. This could be the biggest scam in history. I don't know for sure. But just my own judgment of looking over the situations, it seems like a lot of upset people and a communication that could have been a little better. That seems to be the issue at hand. But I just want to jump on this only because I've had a lot of people asking me for my opinion on it, and especially with me talking about it on Wednesday in a video that I already filmed, unfortunately, I didn't want to pretend that I'm just ignoring the existence of this frustration. I wanted to talk about it, even if to basically say I don't really think it's an issue myself. Moving on from there, we're going to have Mosaic, which is going to be the last of our updates, I think. Let me check. Last of our updates. Yep, this is going to be the last of our updates. Yes, before we jump into new things. So, Mosaic, Short version over here is not a lot that I'm actually updating here. They have a few new things in the Kickstarter, nothing crazy that needs to be really talked about, although I do want to focus on one thing if I can find it over here. But basically they have more stuff, more weekly reveals, more content for the game. They're adding some more goals so you can mix up the experience of what you're trying to go for, meaning you have the base game, but then you might have a variety of different goals or achievements you're trying to go for, which might slightly subtly shift the way you approach the game every single time you play it. That said, the reason I'm talking about it is to say that I was hoping to have a review tomorrow for this. Unfortunately, it's not going to be tomorrow. Hopefully it'll be Saturday. I'll have to let you know as we just scheduling and stuff and getting things done. But effectively, I hope to have a review going up soon. But on the off chance I don't have it soon enough, then I just want to let you know that this game is amazing. I had the opportunity to play this game, and I love this game. Now, granted, you should know the biases I come in with. I like Terraforming Mars, I like tableau building, I like civilization building, I like lots of fun card play. This game is doing everything I would otherwise want a game to do. So overall, I'm interested in the game. I'm giving it a 5 out of 5, just to be very clear. This is one that I'm very much looking forward to. I would encourage you to watch my review when it comes out, because I do have critiques or reasons why it might not be a game for you, but I would say in general, if you like tableau building, civ building, card play, just slowly leveling up and getting more powerful, and also pretty streamlined gameplay, all things considered, then, I mean, Mosaic is one of the games that has blown me out of the water. And I talked about this in Saturday's video, but I've been giving a lot of 5 out of 5s recently. I've been giving 4 in the past 2 weeks. That is an anomaly, because in the first 5 months of the year, I gave 3 total. It happens to be I've just had a good batch of games recently, so it's not like I'm suddenly becoming excited about everything. I do like games, don't get me wrong, but it's rather, it's just been a good month. It is what it is. I'm not going to tell you a game's not good if it is good. And that is basically going to be Mosaic. Moving on to the market, but before we do, we're going to take a brief pause. So, anyways, the market. So, the market's going to be a pocket game. It's going to be by G. Wesley Cohn. I don't know the name of the company over here. Sorry. But this is basically going to be a pocket game. Think of the Button Shy series. Think of the Button Shy series of games where you have basically, well, card play, 18 cards in a wallet. I don't know if this is 18 cards. I'm just talking about Button Shy at this point. But the market's going to be bringing you light, simple card play in the sort of semi-dystopian society situation, post-apocalyptic economy of the world of Tempo. It doesn't really feel like a post-apocalyptic economy, but hey, maybe it is. But to that end, this is going to be a game where you basically are going to be you're going to be managing the market in the game. So you're going to be trying to build up your tableau and sell resources or buy resources to ultimately every turn you're going to be generating resources and using those to get what you need in this game. It's a quick, fun, puzzly game that can teach in 3 minutes. Sorry. It can teach in 3 minutes and play in around 5 or so. Sorry, give me a second here. Don't know what's up with that, but it is what it is. Anyways, so quick game, teaches in around 3 minutes, plays in around 5 minutes or so, and it's a light, small pocket card game. Overall, the price point on this one is going to be roughly $12. I say roughly because once you factor in the shipping over here, which can be another $4 at a minimum, then you're looking at $16 shipped for this game, which means it falls into the category of a game where if you're looking for it for yourself, you may as well just go ahead and get it. It's $16, not the end of the world. That said, you're unlikely to be able to sell this for what you paid for it, almost certainly not. Most Button Shy games fall into a similar category. They often are the best price to get it if you are interested, but then again, trying to sell them once you factor in shipping and the differences of economy on a game that cheap and how much you can edge out $1 here versus $1 there, it's usually just not worth selling or getting your money back in that sense. But I would say if you're interested in it, go ahead and back it. It'll be $16, but it's not one that you're going to get your money back on. Almost certainly not. And I can't speak for cheaper or later because I can tell you, geez, something's wrong with me today. I got something like stuck in my throat. But I can't speak for cheaper later because unlike Button Shy, I don't know their model in general. Button Shy, their games are always a little cheaper on the Kickstarter compared to getting later once you factor in those bonus packs that you get. Versus the market over here, I can't say how it's actually going to play out later or not. Moving on, we have, speaking of Button Shy, we have Tussie Mussie Expansion Collection by Elizabeth Hargrave. This is going to be 3 new expansions for Tussie Mussie. It's going to be giving you flowers, greenery, and ribbons, as well as guests, I believe it is, or I can't remember what they are, but there's some sort of guests. Let's go through each one. The flowers are going to be giving you more of a interactive scoring element to the game. The greenery is going to be giving you something that it's helpful if you get them, but you only want one. You don't want more than one, which leads to an element of, well, what's on the face down cards? Am I about to take a face down card with more greenery? Will that hurt me? Will it help me? So, at least an element there. The ribbons are going to be scoring objectives that are in play every game. So you'll have some ribbons available each game, which will give you additional scoring objectives or ways to play. And then lastly, you're going to have the what's it called? The guests. It's called the customers. The customers expansion, which are, think of them like events. They're going to have small little things that will mix up what happens when the card comes up or whatnot. That's going to be what you're getting over here. And that's going to be available for, is it $10? Yeah, $10 it looks like it will get you that set, and $20 if you want to get, the original base game along with it. And that's going to come with its own wallet, which is something they haven't done for expansions in the past. Usually the expansions, you have to figure out how you want to store them. This time around, they're going to be coming in their own little expansion collection, own little mini wallet, which they need to do given how many cards they now have for Tussie, Mussie. And this is by Elizabeth Hargrave, designer of Wingspan. Short note on this is going to be the same thing as I say by every other Button Shy campaign. It is unlikely you'll see your money back if you buy this once you pay the $10 plus probably $4 shipping, if I had to guess. Probably the same thing. United States is going to be, United States is $5 shipping. Shipping's gone up. So we have $15 to get this over here. You're unlikely to get $15 back. You can probably sell it for $10 and maybe get and someone will pay shipping as well. You'll lose something on it. That said, if you want it for yourself, again, I do encourage you to go ahead and get it. If you like Tussie Mussie, this is going to be more stuff for a game you already like. It's likely the best price to get and everything once you're getting those 3 expansions, plus the additional Kickstarter exclusive thing, not exclusive, the Kickstarter given for free to backers of the customers expansion. So falls in the same category as the market. If you're interested, go ahead and get it. Unlikely to hold its value past that. Moving on from there, we're going to have the Soundbox Kickstarter, and this is going to be by Horrible Guild. Horrible, which used to be called Horrible Games, and I often confuse it, but it's not Horrible Games, it's Horrible Guild. I got it right until I corrected myself by telling myself that I got it right, at which point I called it Horrible Games at the same time. Neither here nor there. This is going to be a party game about making sounds, and that's exactly what it sounds like. You're going to have a bunch of people around the room. It's a cooperative game, by the way, which you might not think it is if you didn't know that already. So, it's a cooperative game. It's one in which you have one team trying to work together. Think like Just One. You know how Just One is a cooperative game where you're trying to work together to get that one card? Similarly, over here, you're going to have a bunch of people working together on the same team to try to figure out the sounds. So, let's say you're playing a 4-player game. You have one person who puts on the glasses, can't see what people are doing, and the other 3 people are going to start making sounds at the same time. So you're going to have a slew of cards on the table. You can see them in the picture over here. So you know the person, the guesser, knows the various cards that are on the table, and they have a general idea of what sounds are trying to be imitated, but they don't necessarily know what those sounds are. So maybe you have over here, I just dropped my burrito, because maybe you have somebody talking about, I don't know, a cat. So someone else is going, meow, 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 or whatever it is. But maybe you have an airport, and the person's going, I can't do an airport. I'm learning this as we go. I can't do an airport. I don't know, I'm making visual things. It wouldn't help. Apparently I'd be bad at this game. Not the point though. The point is that it's a game where the guesser is guessing the sounds people are making as they make them all simultaneously. So then the guesser takes off their glasses, their covering, whatnot, and sees what the person, like, I think you are guessing this one. Actually, you don't have to say who was guessing who. You just say, I think one of the cards is airport. There's no way they picked airport. My airport was horrible. There's not a chance on earth they got it. They probably got my cat. That was easy. Forget things like the sound of, I don't know, they have advanced cards. We'll get through them. But anyways, that is the core of the game. Keep doing that and keep trying to score as many points as possible as you play this cooperative game, trying to guess as many cards as possible. So basically, a sound-based party game. That's what it is. The game's going to have 2 editions. It's going to have the retail edition for roughly $20, and then the Kickstarter edition for roughly $41, plus shipping on both of those. Let's go through what you get for those. So, the retail edition is going to be over here. That's not the retail edition. The retail edition is going to be, I don't know what the retail edition is. Well, this is going to be the Kickstarter exclusive edition, which is going to give you a neoprene mat in the game as well. It's going to be giving you wooden deluxified tokens, so it upgrades the token qualities, and it gives you a whole bunch of extra cards so far. It looks like we have 110 sound cards plus 20 extra Kickstarter cards so far. I don't know if that's been updated yet because they have a bunch of things listed down below. Let's go ahead and look through that. The retail edition of the game is going to be giving you all of that with none of these stretch goals. So let's cover these stretch goals. Oh, so it looks like the Kickstarter game is giving you plus 20 Kickstarter sound cards plus the additional stretch goals. So let's go ahead and take a look at the stretch goals to see what you get over there. That's going to be the following over here, so let's go through it. So, we have upgraded markers, we have new fancy glasses in case you wanted those, we have a new game mode for the app, 20 new words here, 20 new words here, 20 new words here, 20 new words here, so it looks like it's doubling the amount of content plus deluxified bits. So if you want the game, I would encourage, well, if you're interested in this game, if that sounds like a fun party game, the Kickstarter edition of the game is going to basically be doubling your content, and the campaign is not over yet. Versus if you want the retail edition, same thing I always say, wait for retail in that sense. As far as holding its value, both of these, let's cover shipping. Shipping is going to be an additional $12 or $16 depending on the game. That further adds to the price. So on the one hand, game seems like a fun system, cooperative, sound based. I imagine people will be laughing in this game. I imagine it's a fun experience. That said, the $16 plus $41 brings you to $57 for the Kickstarter version of this game. I cannot imagine you getting your money back. It's a party game. Party games rarely hold their value in terms of just if you're paying $56 for a party game and compared to Codenames for like $17 at Target or whatever it is. I think this will have a hard time holding up comparatively speaking. If you are interested in it, I would encourage either retail down the road or the Kickstarter exclusive version here, with the understanding that it almost certainly will not hold its value, and if you're patient and just want to wait, you may be able to get this on the secondhand market, even the Kickstarter version of the game. So fun game, looks interesting, or looks fun, looks interesting, looks unique in what it's trying to do, but as a party game, those things just have a harder time holding their value, no matter how much I love Horrible Guild and their games in general. Moving on, we have Paperback Adventures, a novel. It's definitely a novel. A novel solo war game. This is going to be by Tim Fowers. It's going to be the same person who has brought you Paperback and Hardback and a bunch of other games such as Burgle Bros. But I'm focusing on Paperback and Hardback because those two are more like this one, and Burgle Bros has nothing to do with this game. Although this little throw burrito over here, that's door. I don't know what I'm talking about. So going back to it, so Paperback Adventures is going to be a solo game within the universe of Paperback and Hardback. Do you remember the characters from the game? Do you remember the fact that when you're playing the game, you had people on the side of the box and different cards and different roles? Well, now you're actually gonna be playing against that roles. You want that damsel over there? You want to play as a damsel? Great, go ahead, play as a damsel, attack other people, attack the what is this? The roaring T-Rex, the roaring Rex, whatever it is, but you're going to be fighting against different creatures through the creation of wards in what is ultimately a solo game with a two-player version kind of baked in with it. So let's see what we got here so far. So we have 50k linen on. By the way, just for the record, have you seen how much this campaign is at? $265,000, 4,000 backers. That is insane for what is effectively a solo ward game. Apparently that's awesome. That's awesome. I'm very excited because reading and being able to construct wards, those are good things in life. So I'm happy for the literacy of our population. If 4,000 people are willing to spend a decent chunk of money to get a ward game, that is awesome. Going back to the game, we'll come back to the game in a second. So what do we have so far? We have new sci-fi items, new sci-fi enemies, new cards. We have a 2-player variant. We have a difficulty modifier. That's excellent because if this game is too easy for you, I want the ability to modify the difficulty. So that's good. New items, new fantasy MacGuffins. MacGuffins going to be these items you can use. We'll go through it. New Regency Romance enemy, new enemies, custom sleeves in one pattern. New adventure story item, new more difficulty modifiers we're soon to unlock. A damsel alternate core item, a new horror enemy, ex machina alternate core item. So what's going on over here? You have the game, along with one character pack is going to be the base pledge level. That's $35 for one copy of the core box, plus one character box of your choice. The Killer Sequel, for $59, will give you 2 character packs, and the Complete Trilogy will give you 3 character packs, including that little mystery pirate character pack. So we have the Damsel, we have Ex Machina, and we have the pirate character pack. And then additionally, you can buy a playmat for $6 as well. So $79 is not a small amount of money for a solo ward game. So what are you getting here? Well, first of all, you're getting cool little game trays added into each box, so that's fun. Game trays are nice. If it makes the game easier, more accessible, that's awesome. Past that, you're getting a ton of content in terms of the cards. Look at this, the Damsel. There will be distress, and she will cause it. That's good. I like that. Ex Machina, the ending will come, but not how you expect. Again, cute. And then we have the pirate, which we don't know more about. But the gameplay is going to involve you constructing wards, not that dissimilar from Paperback and from Hardback, and then you can cascade those cards one direction or the other to determine both the bonuses you get on those cards, or alternatively what the final card is as well. You can be using those for these abilities, going through the game, attacking baddies, doing all that with multiple character packs, multiple adventures, going through that. So it's it sounds like it's a solo ward construction game. Now for myself, Paperback and Hardback are games that I liked but moved on from, and I moved on from them because I find ward games as a genre in general, I don't appreciate how in ward games, what effectively tends to happen, at least when I play ward games with people, is there's always someone at the table who spends way more time than I want them to spend constructing the perfect ward. So I'll be like, hey, great, here's my wards, five letters, done, awesome. And they're like, oh, well, give me a second here, okay? Give me a second here. And they go on for like 4.5 minutes, and they eventually, 4.5 minutes later, they're like, and I got a 6-letter ward. Okay, great. I don't care. I want to play games and have fun. I don't want to be here to watch you construct the best ward possible. That is my own personal bias and experience when playing any form of ward construction games in our gaming system. Hardback, Paperback, Ward Domination, any game that has, I think Ward Domination has powers too. Any game that has ward play, that tends to have. Which means I'm interested in this game specifically because it has a solo play. The idea of me being able to just do my ward ward and move on with my life and not have to wait while people construct the perfect ward is exactly what I'm looking for in this genre. So for me, this has me very interested. I actually completely ignored it when it first showed up because I was like, okay, great, another Flowers Ward game. I've done that and I've decided they're not for me. This time around, I am absolutely interested in this one because it gives me like that wordplay that I like, but without the other people that make it so that I don't like it. I like people, just not in war games. But if you do like people in war games, there is a 2-player mode added on as well for those who actually wanted that in this game as well. So funsies for everyone. Past that, pricing. Pricing for this game is going to fall into Flowers' typical standard way that they handle Kickstarters. Nothing here is exclusive. The price is better than you will otherwise get later, which is true with a caveat. So if you look at most of the Kickstarters, and I can't promise that will be the same for this one, but it has held true across the board in general, their Kickstarters generally, first of all, their games frequently go out of print. That's something to consider. Secondly, their games are available on their website, so you can get it on the website, and they usually have free US shipping. Which means usually, if you look at their Kickstarters, usually the Kickstarter price is roughly equivalent to buying it later. Because the Kickstarter price is cheaper, but you charge shipping, they pay shipping, versus on the website, it's more expensive, but it's free shipping. Which means the prices are generally roughly equitable. If you think that you're getting an amazing deal by spending $79 now and getting such a great deal off the game, you might be, but I would wager you're getting either no deal or a minimal deal. It depends on what the end price ends up being. That said, you're also not paying more for it. So I would argue, if you're interested in this game, I would argue go ahead and get it now compared to getting it on the website. The only other caveat is going to be the secondhand market, and the secondhand market on many Flowers games do fairly well. Not all of them, but if you want Burgle Bros 2 when in between print runs in the secondhand market, you're going to pay more than the Kickstarter price for it. So I would argue this is not a great back. It's not like an amazing back, but I would argue it's a reasonable price point for the game, and one that your best chances are either the Kickstarter now, where you'll get it early, brand new, but all that stuff, supporting the creator, all good things, or if you want, you can wait and see how the second market does. You might be able to get it cheaper, no guarantees. So that would be the overall price point, but no exclusives here. You can get it now, you can get it on the website, just as an issue of print runs and availability in that sense. Moving on, we have Maximum Apocalypse Wasted Wilds from Rock Manor Games. So, Maximum Apocalypse. Maximum Apocalypse is going to be another game in their series. The Maximum Apocalypse has a whole bunch of games, including a legendary edition they already did. This is going to be Wasted Wilds, bringing more content to the game. This is going to be a roguelike adventure through a, post-apocalyptic wasteland with different themes, different cards, different everything. Different everything is the key thing. This is one of those games where if you go all in on this, you have so much game and it's absolutely over the top ridiculous. And this is going to be Rock Manor Games, which I think I already said. Why back now? Kickstarter exclusives. Lots of Kickstarter exclusive content that will not enter regular distribution, early delivery, be involved stretch goals, discounted pricing. So discounted pricing is reasonable. The Kickstarter exclusive is reasonable. Overall, I would say let's go through what they have over here. Here's all the content we have. What's in the box, the chef, the driver, the contractor. They have 84 monster cards, the clock board. This is going to be a new mechanic to the game. This aspect of basically time and things happening as you go through it. Let's see if I can find the what's new section. It's going to be the stretch goal section. You can go through here, seeing all the stretch goals that are being added to the game. But if I find the what's new section over here. So we have 4 things. Wasted Wilds features brand new survivors. It features new environments. It features the whole book there, the rules. Time is against you. Wasted Wilds organizes new mechanics into a clock board. Time is always ticking along in Wasted Wilds. Every turn advances the clock, but rolling 7 increases the passage of time. So it's adding a whole bunch of new things, from characters, from mechanics, streamlined setup. They're trying to make it even more accessible to be able to jump out, get this straight to the table. I believe they said this will all fit in the legendary box. I'm pretty sure that's in the FAQ. Let's go ahead and take a look. In the FAQ, will everything fit in the legendary box? Yes. Too long, don't read. You can check with vendors, but too long, don't read. It will fit into the legendary box. That's going to be everything going on here. So, should you back it? Should you not? Will it hold its value? All that stuff. So first of all, there are exclusives. If you don't want to waste your hand in the secondary market, this game will have exclusives, so you can go ahead and back it now if you want those exclusives. Past that, secondary market-wise, these games usually, the Maximum Apocalypse series in general, is almost always cheaper on the secondhand market. Obviously, it depends on where you are. Speaking of which, I believe they are charging VAT, so you have to look into that as well if you are international. But if you are someone who does check the second market and you do want to get this game cheaper, generally their games, the Maximum Apocalypse series, they lose, I would argue, roughly 15 to 20% of their price. They go down on the secondhand market. They are usually available for cheaper if you are patient, if you're not in a rush. So if you want to try out the series, I recommend checking like the Board Game Geek market for used sales or eBay or Facebook groups or whatever it is. You can usually get these games cheaper if you want to try them out that way. If you want them new, then you get them at retail. And if you want them new with exclusives, then Kickstarter is going to be the right fit for you there. And moving on, we're going to have Path of Solstice, but it's going to be time for another drink. Cool. So, there we go. Path of Light and Shadow Solstice. Path of Light and Shadow is going to be a game that is from it's from Indie Boards and Cards, I believe. Is it Indie Boards and Cards? It's from Stronghold Games. I thought it was Indie Boards and Cards, although they often have overlap, so I'm not sure how that plays out. But either way, Path of Light and Shadow is a game that existed a long time ago, and they're finally coming back with an expansion now. So, what is the game? The game basically has, let me see if I can scroll through it, it's going to be an area control deck building system it falls in the category, which I have a few games in this category, games that I would keep if I played them more. But it was too much for me for a game that I wanted to pull out infrequently. Now, Path of Light and Shadow, basically what happens in this game is you're going to be deck building and leveling up your cards, but you're going to be doing that by choosing which direction each card levels up. So you can have all these cards over here. You can see on the bottom, this is a starter card, and you can see how you can level up cards in different pathways. So you're going to take these cards and slowly but surely make them more powerful, but it does involve a constant break to the game as you try to grab different cards. So I had two main issues with it, one which I could live with, the other one which I didn't want to. The one is that you're constantly riffling through piles of cards to try to find how you want to upgrade your characters, and it leads to a little bit of an interruption to the game as you try to go through new piles, take one card out, to put one card out, almost similar to the way that what's his name, John Clare, the way he has his card crafting system. It has an element of the card crafting system in the way you're kind of doing that as you upgrade your deck, so to speak. But my bigger issue with it was just that there were so many options to the way you can actually develop your deck, the way you can develop and upgrade your things, that there was so much choice that I found it slowed down our games as we would dive into it, and then 4 months later we dive back in. It's a game that I think if you play it a lot, it is an excellent game. I remember having a lot of fun playing it, while also feeling that I was ready to move on from it because there was so much there that we just spent a ton of time trying to figure out what we wanted to do as opposed to playing the game, if that makes sense. Similar problems to games like Heroes of Land, Air, and Sea, that kind of system. That said, Path of Light and Shadow is bringing you new content for this game. It's going to be a new player board, powerful relics, new factions, a new region with a sideboard, a whole bunch of new stuff for the game overall. This is a game that, I mean, it's been around for a while. It's been in the wild, so to speak, although the supply of it has been dwindling up because it's just not, I mean, they printed it a long time ago, and the copies are just going away slowly but surely, so it's hard to find them both in retail and the secondhand market. Price point wise over here is going to be $39 for the Hinterlands expansion. That's giving you the new limited edition expansion. They call it limited because they say they have no official plans for retail. They make no guarantees it will be available in retail. If it is in retail, it'll be available in 2023 at the earliest, but even then they're not certain. And I believe that just given how this game does have a fan base, but it is a small fan base, so this may be your only opportunity to pick it up past the secondhand market. I'm not trying to encourage FOMO. I'm trying to say this was a popular game with a small crowd. So a Kickstarter limited expansion makes complete sense to me. I do not know what their plans are. I'm just saying it makes sense. Past that, $109 will get you the base game and the pledge. Now, if you want the game, you could check the secondhand market. I believe I saw copies even for $40 or $50, so cheaper than what you're paying over here, even when you factor in shipping to the game, because you're going to pay shipping here as well. So overall, if you want the base game, I would encourage you to check on the secondhand market, see if this is a game for you, or you can just go ahead and go all in and get everything. Now, there is going to be Kickstarter exclusive content to the game, and that's true for the base game as well. The base game had an original card pack. I believe they're letting you buy that card pack as well, so it would be $109 plus like $10 or whatever it was for the card pack, if I can find over here. And there's going to be here are all the promos and daily unlocks you can see. So I can't see the card pack over here. It was somewhere. Here we go. $10 for the promo pack, including the 14 limited edition Kickstarter stuff from the original game. Should you back it, will hold its value, all of that. So to begin with, first of all, but taxes. Let's go with taxes. Taxes, I believe there were tax and all that. Tax, we've included a tax account for all shipping. Shipping and tax charges will be added after the Kickstarter ends. So there's going to be shipping, which is discounted, plus taxes as well. Should you back it, should you not? So basically, I would argue that if you're interested in the expansion, if you're interested in the $39 expansion, I would go ahead and get it. The fact that it might be limited, be in low supply, and be hard to get, if you like this game, I mean, I would get the expansion because you might pay an extra $10 compared to waiting for the secondhand market or something like that. But if it's an expansion for a game you like, do you want to take that risk that you might have to hunt it down, that you're getting it later, all that stuff. Versus if you're in this for the base game as well, if this is the first time you're trying it out, then, I mean, $109 is a decent amount of money for a game that I think will be cheaper on the secondhand market, at least that base game. Like I said already, at $60, they're charging you $60 for the base game, and you can already get that cheaper on the secondhand market right now, forget a year from now. So the base game, I think, is a little bit of a harder proposition, but if you like the game and want the expansion, then I would just go ahead and suck it up. You might lose a few bucks, but hey, sometimes that is the price of gaming when you want stuff you like. Moving on, we have the Lockup Breakout expansion. So the Lockup Breakout expansion is going to be, well, like as you can imagine, an expansion for Lockup. Lockup is going to be giving you a Breakout, which is going to be giving you a whole bunch of areas on the board, the catacombs underneath the dungeon. Lockup, designed by Stan Kredinsky, put out by Thunderworks Games. Is it Thunderworks or Thunder? I always mix them up. Yeah, Thunderworks. I got it right this time. Thunderworks and Thundergriff are two companies I always mix up. But Lockup is going to be giving you more content for the game, and it's going to be coming in at roughly $19 for the game. I do not believe there's any exclusive content. We'll go through that shortly, but it's $19 $19 for the game, and then if you want the base game as well, it's $65, which will be giving you the base game, the expansion, as well as the Coolback pack over there. So as far as, well, let's go through the content. What do you get? They have a Thunderworks Games always has a great Why Back Now section, which I will try to find. Where do we have it? What's the lockup? Why Back Now? Somewhere. Where do we go? So over here somewhere, localization, nope, retailers, no, why back? Thunderworks, be part of the journey. So they're going to make you part of the journey with all this, like the updates, all that stuff. If you value that, then great. Have the game first, you'll get the game first. If you value that, then great. Support a small publisher. Again, same idea. If you want to do that, if you want to pay a little extra to support them, then great. And exclusivity, the plastic crew tiles will not be available except for, they'll not be available in standard retail. They'll be available in the campaign as well as on BGG, on the Thunderworks Games website. So they're going to be available. It's not like they're exclusive. They just won't be at your local game store. As far as what those are, those plastic game tiles are going to be $15. You can pay an extra $15 to get basically acrylic game tiles. I believe 35 acrylic game tiles for all the crew members. So it's an upgraded component, so to speak. That is the only thing that is not exclusive. That's the only thing that is not widely available. So overall, I would say if you're interested in this game, then you have two options. Same idea. Do you want the base game? Do you want the expansion? What's going on here? If you want just the expansion, I'd argue just go ahead and get it. The shipping is actually heavily subsidized, so the shipping's fairly cheap. You'll pay $19 plus like an extra $4 or $5 for shipping, and you'll get the game for roughly $24. It will be available cheaper at retail, guaranteed. So if you're waiting for your miniature market order where you're going to spend $100, you'll probably be able to pay $19 and then get it for free and not pay the $5 shipping. But you'll get it later, and the margins and the difference, at that point, I would probably just get it on the Kickstarter. Whereas if you're interested in the base game, Lockup plus Breakout, at that point, the gap of what you're paying extra for that compared to the fact that you can get the game for $35 now at miniature market, and you're paying basically, I mean, $65 from $19 means you're paying basically, what is it, $46 extra. Sure, you're getting the Coolback expansion pack, but I just don't think the math works out over there. So if you're interested in the base game plus Breakout, I would just wait for retail to go ahead and get them. Thunderworks Games in general, they don't give you a ton of reason to actually back the games on Kickstarters past supporting the publisher or being involved in the journey or stuff like that. Their games are usually available cheaper for retail. When you're talking about $19, that few bucks difference, I don't know if it matters enough. Whereas when you're talking about $65, you could be saving $10 to wait at retail, and $10 is already, you know, a third of a game. Depends on where you buy that game, but $10 could add up pretty quickly. Moving on, we have The Witcher Old World. The Witcher, I did this last time. The Witcher Old World. Old World. So I have a thing with my R's. Growing up, I always had a thing with my R's. I got most of my R's out of the way, and I can now say most words with R's, but world is one in particular. I know the word is world. I instinctively say world, and then you throw old in there, and I'm like, The Witcher's Old World. The Witcher Old World. So it's just the way I say things, and that's okay, because we're all special in our own unique ways. But The Witcher Old World. I can do it slowly if I think about it. 29,000 backers, 12 days to go, closing in on $4 million. I am certain this thing will cross $5 million by the time we're done. I'm certain. Like, I mean, they're going to have a playmat thrown in. I can't imagine they wouldn't. It's just free money at that point. And the thing is going to be, I mean, you're still close. We're still having more than 1,000 backers per day. The last few days, we'll probably see like a 5,000-6,000 backer jump in the last 2 days. So we're closing in on, I would argue, $6.5 million is probably where this thing will end. But that does depend on what extras they add and just how much of a surge we see towards the end. The nice things about stretch goals is stretch goal based campaigns that give you content more and more as you go means that people coming to this, 2 weeks in, see more stuff that they're like, well, I'll back it now. I mean, if you're throwing that much content in my face, and you're right, you should consider backing it. So I'm not going to do a full thing deep dive into this one because I already did a full video on it, which you can check out. I already have a full review on it, which you can check out. I have a full gameplay over a Quack Loop, which you can check out. And I will have, before the campaign ends, likely in the last 3 or 4 days, I will have another full video going over everything they added in a full summary video. So I'm not going to do a full deep dive here because there already was plenty of content and there already will be plenty of content. Just make sure to subscribe to the channel if you're not already so you can, well, see that when it pops up. Past that, what do we have in the game? So we're going to have over here, it's going to be basically a $86 base pledge, as well as $153 for the deluxe box, which gives you basically miniatures as well as some extra, but it's primarily going to be giving you all the monster miniatures you get in the game. For that, you're basically, this The Witcher Old World, for those who don't know, for those who didn't watch the other video, is going to be a deck building adventure game. Think Runebound, although Runebound doesn't have deck building. Think Mage Knight, although a lot easier to jump into the Mage Knight. Think other games that have deck building and adventure systems in it, like, what's the other one? something Underdark. Tyrants of the Underdark has it as well. Whole bunch of games out there that will have some aspects of these gameplay mechanics. The Witcher Old World is going to be giving you the Witcher theme, and it does so well. It does feel like you are the Witcher in this game. The card play is precise but measured but powerful, feeling like the combat in the game. The game system gives you narrative choices. It's not going to be a long campaign game with long-lasting impacts to your decisions, but it will localize those decisions in small moments where you read a card and you might have something that resolves in that moment. You might have something that resolves, 4 turns out as you adventure around the board. So it does condense and abstract that gameplay down to actual choices. As something happens, you find a pirate ship wrecked on the beach. Do you explore it? Do you tell the townsfolk? It's going to give you choices with consequences that are fun to go through. So it has that aspect to the game. And then, of course, you will fight beasts because that's what you do in The Witcher. You fight epic monsters, and the base game itself, while I found the monster variety immensely lacking, I would say that the monsters didn't feel different. But the Kickstarter stretch goals giving you enough content. They're giving you tons of solo content. Here's a good example we have here. The Wild Hunt, here's everything it's adding. Now, it doesn't look pretty, so it's not the best graphic that I could have suggested, but it covers what's there. We have the Monster Trail. I mean, honestly, they could have put a ton of content, made that graphic look nice and pretty, and shown you all the stuff you're getting. But you're going to be getting Witchers in the game. You're going to be getting tons of monsters. The Kickstarter stretch goals are adding tons more monsters. You're going to have the Monster Trail expansion, giving you solo and co-op play. So that's not solo. You're going to have the Wild Hunt expansion, giving you solo and co-op play. You're going to have the Monster Trail expansion, giving you monster variety. You're going to have 168 extra cards in this Kickstarter. You're going to have a handful of Kickstarter exclusives. Not a lot of Kickstarter exclusives, a handful, because we're going to have exclusives for, we're going to have the Wild Hunt miniature, the mounted Eridan is going to be exclusive. We're going to have so far exclusive for, if I can find it over here in the stretch goals, there's going to be an exclusive for your Lost Horse, the Lost Mount. There's going to be the Lost Mount expansion, which is basically a small little thing where your mount jumps around from location to location. As you find it, you get a movement bonus. So a small little Kickstarter exclusive gameplay change to the game. Now, that's all they have exclusive-wise so far, which means price point, and should you back it, come down to what are going to be the prices of all these expansions that you're getting condensed into your pledge. How much will they be separately? And then, of course, the exclusive content as well. Now, so far, like I said already, they have an alternate miniature, and then they have a small gameplay expansion. The Lost Mount is more of a module than gameplay, really. But effectively, those will be sought after to a degree. When you have 30,000 people backing by the time we're done, 40,000 people, the amount of people who are interested in this game a year and a half from now, exclusive content will matter, even if it's 2 small things like that. So I think this game will hold its value. Combine that with the amount of expansion content you're getting. I'm not 100% certain because they haven't released anything about MSRPs, so we're still going to keep an eye going as the campaign develops, but I do think it is a good value, just the amount of stuff you're getting, plus those few exclusives. But again, full video if you want to check that out towards the last days of the campaign. Past that, that's what we're seeing so far. I know there's going to be more stuff coming as well. We have the Adventure Pack expansion, which I didn't even see that one. The Adventure Pack expansion? That's another one. So we have the Adventure Pack expansion, which means you have 3 expansions included in your base pledge so far, plus all the additional stretch goals that just go in the base game box. And then we have the Wild Hunt miniatures, that are the newest thing they added. They have advanced card play, which is another thing that I wanted from reading the game. I wanted more advanced card play. The cards are great, but they're going to get boring after a number of games. The more advanced cards they throw in, the more variety they throw in that make the game feel interesting, feel different, that feel like, ooh, look at the chaining combos I can create and generate. That's going to be what keeps this game interesting for me. So overall, completely interested in this game. Again, review, should you back it, more videos coming. Tons of content, and we're already, 41 minutes into this video. I still have a ton of stuff to cover. That is not cool. So, with that said, we're going to move on from The Witcher and move on to the next thingy. The next thing is going to be Buru. Buru is going to be a majestic midweight Euro game, which said they have majestic somewhere. They didn't even say majestic. I'm just saying majestic. It is majestic, though, because Buru is a delightfully pretty, visually stimulating, gorgeously produced, well, seemingly, we'll see how it actually is produced, but it seems like it's gorgeously produced, a midweight Euro game with highly interactive gameplay. Now, I'm not just saying that. I've played it, and I enjoyed it. We'll have a review coming to the channel at some point. 15 days before the Kickstarter ends, we'll have a review coming to the channel. But the deluxe edition of the game is going to be, well, we have a few pledges, so let's start with this. We have the $59 for the base game. Now, $59 for the base game, not even the deluxe version of the game, that's a lot of money, and that will be a common trend throughout this coverage of the game, throughout this coverage of the campaign. Then for $79, you can get the deluxe edition of the game, so $79 is a lot of money, and that gets you the deluxe edition of the game, and that's still not everything, because for $89, no, that's not true, skip that one, for $99, you get the Buru all-in gameplay of this game, which is going to be $99 for, I mean, that's going to give you the all-in gameplay, which is giving you the Ambalu expansion for the game as well, and that's going to be great, but it's still not all-in, because for $129, that's when we finally get to the all-in pledge for this game, giving you just ridiculous amounts of money for that game, and we're still not done because we have to cover the shipping. The shipping, if you look at the shipping table, if I can scroll down here, let's see if we can find that, the shipping table, while very reasonably priced at $10 shipping for the game. $10 is great for all those other pledge levels. If you went all in, it's going to be an additional $30, and that jump is because all the playmats and the extra things you get in the all in are going to add to the shipping cost as well. So that's just a lot of money. You're looking at $159 for the all in for this game, including shipping, and that will range on this what zone you're in and all that. That's a lot of money for basically a mid-weight Euro game that looks pretty. So let's go through this. So to begin with, the game is a midweight Euro game that looks pretty. It is. I'm not going to deny it. It is a game that looks pretty. The art is gorgeous. The production quality is gorgeous. Everything in the deluxe edition is just upgraded in terms of thickness, in terms of premium feel, in terms of all that. The gameplay aspect basically comes down to bidding on these various zones. You're going to have various tiles. You're going to place them down in different zones to take different actions, and then the highest person in each zone gets the first pick of a stronger version of the action. So it's kind of blind bidding, trying to think through what you want, how you can most likely get your results. It is solid gameplay, although I think the Amblo expansion is almost required if you want I think the Amblo expansion is almost required if you want variety in your gameplay, meaning the game itself as a base game is going to, in my opinion, and I haven't played it a lot, keep that in mind, but I would be of the opinion that the base game is not going to stay fresh forever. I think the Amblo expansion is, I would highly recommend getting the Amblo expansion if you're getting the game at all, because I think it will make the game feel different and more, give you more choices, more tactical depth every time you play it. So I would highly encourage that expansion if you're getting the game. Past that, there's going to be different aspects, such as you're basically trying to go through a system of collecting resources, collecting various villagers, and then utilizing those villagers' abilities, and then making offerings to these various gods. That's the core concept of what you're going on in this game, and you're trying to ultimately get the most points through the most efficient use of where you place your tokens, how you get your reward, and all of that. Should you back it? Should you not? It's a hard one for me here. It's a hard one because the price point is large in this. The price point, I mean, you're talking about, like, basically, if you want the deluxe version of the game with everything, you're talking about $99 for the all-in gameplay plus $10 shipping. You're talking about $109 to get the game, even if you don't care about the mat and the wooden bowls and all those, is $109. Which means this is very much going to feel like Chai for me. Chai, a game that was on the lighter side, although I will say, speaking for myself, I prefer the gameplay of Buru over Chai. To be clear, that's over Chai, not over Chai Tifa 2, which I like a lot more. But Buru, I prefer much more than Chai, but Chai is a game that was beautifully produced, that has done a decent job holding its value just because how well they did in terms of the production of the game, the production quality, and people wanting that game. Buru is a game that the lighter gameplay, it's not light, it's medium light, but the medium light gameplay combined with the price point for what you're getting has me skeptical that it will hold its value. This might be the best opportunity to get it. It's exclusive, it's hard to get. Your options are getting it on the Kickstarter or getting it on the secondhand market. Doesn't give you a lot of choices there that are great in terms of if you want this game, if you want the deluxe prettified version of the game, you don't have great choices in front of you. That said, I'm not sure. Instinctively, I think you will not be able to get your money back on this one if you find it's not a game for you. If you pay $109 for the game, maybe you're going to sell on the market down the road for $80, maybe $70. I don't know. But because of games like Chai, because of games like Spirits of the Forest, a handful of games out there that are much more lightweight, and yet the production quality and art and design are so solid that people still are willing to pay for them and get them, there are exceptions out there that means Buru might fall into that category of being an exception in this sphere, of being a medium-light game that is fairly expensive, produced beautifully, and it still holds its value. So instinctively no, but with the caveat that there are certainly exceptions that make me think it might. Moving on from Buru, we have Quest Heroes of Sorcado. Let me just see what I have here. Yeah, Quest Heroes of Sorcado. So, Quest Heroes of Sorcado is going to be a fantasy cooperative-driven game for 1 to 6 players going through a large campaign. Now, there's a lot going on in this campaign. The base price point is going to be $59 for what is a fairly long adventure with tons of different choices in it, although they have a lot of different choices as far as the pledge levels. Enough choices that I think actually might be doing themselves a disservice just because of how many options they have for what is, I believe, a first-time publisher. No, 10 created, not a first-time publisher. Did I miss this? I totally missed this. I thought they were a first-time publisher. I missed that one. They have Dawn of the Archmaid. They have a whole bunch of games on their belt. I totally missed that. So that's my bad over there. Usually I look through that one. But this game, Quest Heroes of Sorcado is going to give you gameplay with different heroes, let me see if I can find it over here. So it's available on Tabletop. The initial adventure campaign is available on Tabletop Simulator, by the way. You can check that out. But it's basically been giving you a giant adventure game. You have deluxeified tokens. You can buy the Prestige Pack add-on for $30. That's going to go through all the pledge levels over here. So let's see what you get with the pledge levels. So, For $59, you get the base game, which is going to be giving you the full base game, $59 on an $80 MSRP. So if that MSRP holds true, that's going to be a good value, arguably speaking. We'll come back to that. $69 is going to give you the quest plus the game mat. So base game plus another $10 for the mat. Over here, we have $84, which is going to give you the game plus the prestige package, but not the mat. For $94, you get the all-in, which is not the all-in, the want it all, which gives you all that plus the mat plus the deluxe resources. For $169, you get all that and then some thing, which is going to be silkscreen bags, custom SG20, neoprene mats. It's going to be like the Dungeon Lord, I think, is in there as well. I'm not sure if the Dungeon Lord is in there. And then we're going to have the quest wanted all plus monsters. It's going to be $229. And I think that is basically the all-in before you get to the $319 pledge levels, which is where you're basically being drawn into the game. And there are like 7 of those. So of the $20,000 is funding, basically $2,500 is coming just from people who want to be drawn into the game as one of the characters, which hopefully they do a good job on, because that can go either way. If you have photorealistic people that don't match the artwork, that can be a huge strike against the game, and people can get fairly frustrated at that one. So you always have to be very careful with how you handle that. I usually recommend showing samples of what it looks like so people aren't turned off. Like, I know Chronicles of Guard did a great job with it. I know the pirate game, Feed the Kraken, did an amazing job with it. Different games will do a different degree of job when you put people into games. You have to do it well, or it can be a huge problem. But that said, 214 backers, $20,000 raised. They're just shy of the funding goal, and 15 days to go for Quest Heroes of Sorcado. Overall, this is one that I have a harder time seeing it hold its value, just the price point in terms of secondhand market. It might be your best chance to get it. That $80 MSRP and a $59 price point, so it does mean that even with shipping, it's still not a bad back. I would argue that the more realistic aspect is that with 214 backers, it's not likely to have wide retail availability, if at all. It falls in the category of a game that if you want it, this might be your best or only chance to get it, but it's unlikely to actually hold its value if you find it not being a game for you and want to sell it on the secondhand market. Moving on to Eldfall Chronicles. Eldfall Chronicles is going to be kind of an interesting one. This is more of a miniatures game than a board game, although it has overlap in both spheres. So to that end, I'll be talking about the game, but the value aspect is going to be very much a guessing game, because they're going to have resin miniatures potentially upgraded to HIPS plastic if the campaign does well and continues to fund well. So it could be, it's going to be more of the miniatures genre than a board game genre. Combine that with, actual miniature aspects of the game. This is what the game looks like. You're going to have rulers to move around the board. You're going to have stat sheets of the characters, and I know they have different aspects to the stat sheets in terms of trying to make the game more accessible, so there are going to be different degrees of depth to the characters in the way you want to play the game, a more accessible version of the game, and a less accessible version, well, not less accessible, a more miniatures-based version of the game, and then an accessible thing for people who don't want all that information overload. But that said, it is still ultimately a miniatures game with miniatures qualities around it. The pledge levels of the game is going to be basically, you're going to have €30 or $37 is going to give you one pack, any one faction box. For €65, it's $80, you can get 2 faction boxes. €119, $146, you're going to get the main pledge for the game. And then €190 or $243 is going to give you the all-in. So let's take a look at what that looks like if we can scroll through this stuff over here. So we have over here, this is going to be a faction box. So over here you can see any one faction box, the Helian League, the Empire of Soga, giving you 3 miniatures, 3 characters, and again, higher quality miniatures. The price point per miniature here is going to be much worse than I would ideally like. That's because they're not giving you command miniatures. They're giving you larger sculpts with high quality either resin or HIPS plastic, which will make the game more expensive, but also makes it more of a miniatures genre of game. Past that, we're going to have the challenges pledge. Includes 2 faction boxes, so it's going to be plus all the each slot plus the 100 tokens and all that. And then we have the Adventures Pledge, which is going to give you a lot more content for the game. What's in the box? That's going to be all the stuff Adventures Pledge. And then lastly, we have the kind of all-in pledge, the Warlords Pledge, which is giving you a ton of content, all the faction boxes, the monster box over here, the scenery pieces, the bonus world map poster, all unlocked stretch goals, all of that. Past that, you can get a lot of these things as individual breakdowns. You can see some of the miniatures over here, and you can see painted miniatures as well if you scroll through the campaign page. But past that, you have unlocked basically add-ons you can buy for all these different things. You can buy upgraded cards, scheme cards, all these different aspects to the game. Some of these are going to be available combined in different pledge levels. Some of these are going to be combined into, let's say, the monsters box. You can buy them all the creatures separately, or you can buy for €99 combined with this, or you can get it as part of a large pledge level. So lots of options in terms of the way you mix and match. Overall value in this one's going to be hard to say, like I said already. Basically, it is more miniatures based than game based, which means I have a hard time knowing how it's going to play out on the secondhand market. I would say I am skeptical you'll be able to get your money back on the secondhand market for this game if you're shopping for somewhere like on Board Game Geek, if you're on a typical Facebook game group, the Buy Sell Exchange, Board Game Revolution. If you're on one of those areas, I find it hard to, I think it is less likely that you'll get your money back on these. Generally, more miniatures focused games have a harder time getting their full return back, but that's just because the target audiences that I'm looking, the target audiences I'm aware of, are more board game focused. If there are miniature communities out there, that might totally change the aspect. I mean, just the miniatures alone. Miniatures, a nice quality HIPS plastic miniature or resin miniature can be fairly expensive. So I don't think the price point is out of line. I just don't know what the resale market looks like for those things and what your options are there. Moving on from there, we have Keystone North America. So, Keystone North America, from the new company Rose Gauntlet Games, Rose Gauntlet Entertainment, which is from Isaac Vega and someone else, I don't remember her name, I think it's Rose something, I think, but I could be wrong. Nope, Isaac Vega and Jeffrey Joyce. I just chose Rose because it's called Rose Gauntlet Entertainment, apparently. Isaac Vega is going to be the designer of Dead of Winter, and they put out their first game, Keystone North America. This is their first game as a company. They hope to do more. The game looks gorgeous. We're going to say nice things about the game for the most part in this campaign. Let's go ahead and go through it. But the first thing I will say that's not as nice, before we even get into the game, is this initial pledge level is a huge mistake. Now, IV Games has basically have a YouTube channel, which I talk about a lot, and they have a series called IV Backed, where they take a publisher's look at pages and kind of critique what a page looks like based on just, ooh, that might have been a mistake, that might not have been a mistake. Now, Austin, I don't know if you're watching this, but you should 100%, if you talk about Keystone North America, this is exactly the kind of thing that Austin would point at talking about how this $30 pledge level over here is a huge mistake tactically. The reason for that is as people are scrolling through the page, the first thing they see is a $30 mark there, which is not the game. If you are one of the 41 people here and you're not backing this as a store, then you need to change your pledge level ASAP. This is not the price of the game. This is the deposit for backers who are buying the game for stores. This is the deposit pledge. So, and the problem with that is when you have the deposit pledge at only $30 and it's the first pledge you see, instinctively the first people think is, oh, the game's $30, which means everything you see from there on makes the game look more expensive. You set the mental bar at $30 in people's minds, which is a mistake. You can't do that. The mental bar, because $30 is a reasonable price for a game. So is $45, but now you started at $30. And so you start at $30, then you move to $45, where even that's only the standard retail edition of the game. That's the one I would encourage you not to get, because you can usually get it at retail cheaper. And then from there we get to the actual deluxe edition, which is $65, which is not even crazy, but it's twice the price of that first price you saw, which isn't even an available price for the game. So small tactical mistake there. Past that, let's talk about the game. So, $65 for the deluxe version of the game. What are you getting in the game? What's the game like? So, Keystone North America is going to be a game about collecting Keystone species. That's the theme of the game. The practical aspect of the game is you're going to have a card row here, and like Canvas, like Small World, like any of these games where you basically have a system of cards that are available, the leftmost card, or Century Spice Road, any of those games, the leftmost card is available for free, but then any additional card will cost you putting down acorn tokens on the cards. When you take a card with acorn tokens on it, you get the acorn tokens as well. So it has that little economy that builds in the relative value of any individual thing. Past that, the relative value will change by individual person based on the board they are filling up, because each player is going to have their own unique board in the game where you're placing that card you're taking, and you're doing so. Let's see if we can, this is the part where we're going to skip rapidly past the page because they have a ton of other stuff that I don't care about until we get to the gameplay. This would totally fail Jeremy Howard's 3-scroll test because we're like 2/3 of the way down the page before we get to how the game plays. So you're going to grab that card over there, you're going to slot it into your board, and you're trying to do so to match, if you just watch that again, so you're going to slot that card into your board, and you're trying to do so to match the various icons in rows and columns, and then you're also going to be having other aspects. You're going to choose the various skills, putting down different tokens on your board, and then ultimately scoring for that board, as you can see over here. So you're going to score for different sequences of cards. You can see over here, if you have your numbers in going down in sequence, plus the various symbols being the same, you will score for those rows. You'll also score for research tokens, and if you have Keystone species, you'll score for those rows again. So there's multiple facets you're trying to juggle as you try to build out your card tableau with the economy of the game. This falls into the category of a game that is beautiful. It has simple gameplay. It has a little puzzle of scoring. Lots of fun things that appeal to me here about this game that have me very intrigued. Past that, the pledge levels over here, $65 is going to give you the base deluxe pledge version of the pledge. Let's start looking at the pledge levels. So, pledge levels over here, let's see what we have component-wise. So, the base version of the game, the standard version of the game for $45, the one you can get at retail later, there's no rush, is going to give you 176 species, 8 wild cards, 12 secret objective cards. Oh yeah, I forgot about the secret objective cards. You will reveal a secret objective card. If you have a certain pattern of things in the right order, you can get more points there as well. It's going to give you 4 player boards, which are fairly standard looking. Remember that green standard looking. We have 10 skill tokens. We have game tracker. We have research tokens. We have first player marker and the synergy tokens. These are going to be the tokens you put down on the board to take your stuff. And then we have a fun solo co-op play journal with 20 scenarios. So if you want to play this game solo or co-op, you can play this game solo or co-op as well, which is a nice modifier for those who don't want to play it competitively. So that's going to be what the game gives you over there. Then, the deluxe edition. Deluxe edition of the game is going to be giving you different artwork, so you might feel special. That's the main difference there. It's going to give you a 106 species card with a higher quality ivory core finish with a living finish, so nicer cards in theory. Keep in mind, this does potentially introduce conflicts with expansions. Future expansions will have to either match your deluxe edition, they'll have to again come to Kickstarter with a deluxe edition of the game and the expansion and all that, or you might end up a little bit lost. Now, I'm not worried about that, I'm just noting it. Past that, you remember those 4 green player boards? You'll have these deluxeified pretty player boards, which I think for the most part are a good thing, but I'm curious how it actually plays out in terms of, is that going to be overwhelming and distracting as you fill out your board? Because you're basically just covering those spots. Is your board going to be harder to see with this design going on? So I'm a little bit wary of that, but they do look pretty, so I'm very torn on those. You're going to get a central playmat for the game that is going to be, this central playmat will roll up and fit into the box. And then from there we have, what else we have? Game tracker, we have the tokens, we're going to have the solo co-op journal, all that, and that's going to be what you get over there. Then we have add-ons. For $35, you can get 102 wooden tokens, so deluxeified tokens for $35, and a leather-bound journal for $20, giving you an option to like check, oh, you know, we've seen this species here. Basically, if you're someone who wants that, and you get an savings, if there's $55 worth of add-ons, will only cost you $45 if you jump to the $110 pledge. So if you're interested in both of these, then go to the $110 pledge. If you're interested in only one of them, then well, bid accordingly, back accordingly. That's going to be the game for the game. That's going to be over here, $110 instead of $120 for that pledge level. Then we have species unlocks, which is going to be the various stretch goals or what we're unlocking as the campaign progresses. But that's effectively what Keystone North America is. So, should you back it, should you not? This is a tricky one. $65 is not cheap, especially when you can get this game. The retail version of this game is probably going to be available for roughly in the range of $40. I would argue it's going to be available somewhere in the $35 to $40 range, being able to buy it at retail down the road, with shipping and all of that, meaning with free shipping on a larger order. And so you're basically paying a little less than twice that to get the deluxe version of the game. That's not even with the deluxe tokens. If you get deluxe tokens as well, you're paying more than twice what you can pay as retail, close to 3 times the retail price, which does put it into a tough spot. That said, I think this is reminding me very much of Canvas. It has notes of Canvas. It has notes of a game that the theme that is accessible, with scoring that is a fun little puzzle, with gameplay that is quick and easy to go through, beautiful production values, beautiful art. I think this is hitting a lot of boxes that make people intrigued by the game. Buru at $100, Buru, which we just covered, at $109 to get the game, and that $65 price point if you don't get those wooden tokens. I mean, that seems reasonable by comparison. So I think this is expensive. I think there's a decent chance it'll hold this value, but it still falls into the risk category. There's no guarantee it'll hold this value. The safest thing for sure is going to be, you just get it at retail and you get a, less deluxe and prettified version of the game, still deluxe and pretty. Factor in what you get in those stretch goals. Factor in the deluxe pledge. Factor in what the extras you get in that deluxe pledge versus what it will cost you at retail, and decide if you care. Those mats are pretty, but do they add value? Do they distract? The playmat, that central playmat, well, that's pretty. I'm not going to argue there. And it fits in the box too, which avoids all my issues with playmats to begin with. So do you care? Do you not? The upgraded cards, there's all these kinds of things. Hard choices here all around. Overall, I absolutely recommend the game, not having played it, but based on what I'm seeing here. But that said, there's a difference between get this game and get this game on Kickstarter. So that's a balance. I will note, for those who do care, this is their first game as a company. Whenever you go into, I don't pitch the whole support creators. In general, I think if creators want your support, they need to give you a reason to back it as opposed to retail. So I do believe in that mutually beneficial relationship aspect. For a first-time creator, I tend to be a little bit more sympathetic, so that does factor in here as well. If that factors into, if you want to help Rose Gauntlet Entertainment grow as a company, this first Kickstarter might help in that sense. So all those things that are decisions you have to think about as you go through this game. Moving on, we have Space Kraken, and we are coming to a close. We have a few left. We're over an hour. Not as bad as I thought, although definitely not great either. Space Kraken is going to be giving you a science fiction dungeon crawl like you've never played for 1 to 4 players. 1,000 backers, $77,000 raised, 18 days to go. This is giving you a giant book. It's basically almost like an RPG combined with different aspects. It's combined with like an RPG with a role-playing game, an RPG is a role-playing game, an RPG with different aspects of gameplay, dungeon crawler. There we go. The game finds a dungeon crawler with a role-playing and strategy game. Now this game is going to be giving you a book that you open up. So if we scroll through this, skipping all those stretch goals to something that actually shows us how the game plays, you're basically going to have this book that's going to open up. So you're going to open the book, and then you can further continue unfolding it to ultimately end up with this little like GM sheet of a guide that's going to walk you through. There's actually a great GIF. I want to see if I can find it, because it really is not this over here. Was it in this? Let's go ahead and see what happens if we do this over here. I don't know if it's in here. Here we go. Look at this over here. So If we watch this video, this is going to be how your book slowly unfolds as you just open it up to play the game. All your stat sheets, everything's ready to go, which is pretty solid. For those who are looking for this kind of experience, that's pretty solid. For myself, I'm not personally interested in this because anything that says RPG, I'm already less interested in it. Just nothing against RPGs, just I've only tried it once, and I've only tried an RPG once and did not like the experience, and I imagine, based on my own preferences of what I like, that RPGs generally aren't my thing as much. Now, this is combining dungeon crawler with strategy game with RPG, so maybe there's enough there that I'd love. I don't know. I'm just not pulled in enough to look further in that sense. Let's go through the pledge levels. Pledge levels are going to be giving you €9 for financial hardship pledge. Now, I do want to focus on this one because I think this was an excellent idea, solid idea from them. Basically, they have a €19 pledge where you can get the digital edition of the game, where you can print it out as you want. So basically, it gives you all the content. So you're paying for all this world building, all this gameplay, all this stuff you're getting. But yes, you have to print it yourself. But if you have a financial hardship pledge, I don't know what they're doing. I don't imagine they're doing anything to validate. I think they're doing just genuinely goodwill. Is they're offering this pledge level to those who are, whatever financial hardship entails, but basically they can get the game cheaper, so paying less for that PDF. So kudos to both them for doing that, and kudos as well to the 18 people who chose the more expensive version of that, I guess, because, they're honest, I guess. Not to say the 75 aren't, but the 18 who did definitely are paying more than they otherwise could get away with, arguably. Past that, pledge levels are going to include €39 for the standard edition of the game, €53 for the essential edition, and then €69, roughly $85 for the deluxe edition, giving you absolutely everything from different soundtracks, the core book, the foil stickers, art books, notepads, all these different things in the game. Oh, sorry, that's not even the end there. I think €99, $121 is going to give you the absolutely everything. Nope, we're not done yet. €149, $182 is giving you absolutely everything. The rules compendium, let's see if there was a screenshot of that somewhere down here, if I can find it, which showed you all the stuff you had in the game. Not this, here we go, the standard edition, this edition, the deluxe edition is giving you this, the large essential edition is giving you all of that, the epic edition is giving you all of this. So if anyone is saying it's like, it's just one book for $182, it's not. There's a lot going on here. Component wise, this is definitely overpriced. If you look at the components to the content you're getting, absolutely overpriced, no question. That said, you're not just paying for the components, you're paying for the world building and everything else going on there. Should you back it, should you not? Will it hold its value? I'm skeptical it will. This is fairly expensive for the amount of content you get. I'm not saying it's overpriced. I'm saying it's expensive. There's a difference. It is fairly expensive for the amount of content you get, and you are generally fighting that uphill battle of convincing someone that these 7 books you have are worth $180. That said, I know in the role-playing world, you genuinely are selling people just books that are worth $180. 7 books could easily be $180. So this goes back to my ignorance of the field. I know board games very well. I don't know miniatures very well. I don't know RPGs very well. I don't know the content, and I don't know the marketplaces for them. So I am skeptical that this will hold its value, but I'm speaking more from a board gamer stance of selling it in board gamer spaces. I have no idea whether it'll hold its value in an RPG space or anything like that, so it falls into that I don't know category, not my field. Moving on, we have Robot Quest Arena. How many do we have left? Looks like we have 2 left after this. So 3 campaigns left, and we're still at an hour and 5 minutes. Unbelievable. Robot Quest Arena by Wise Wizard Games. Robot Quest Arena is going to be giving you an arena epic battler game with deck building and arena combat. Now, this is a game where I have a review on my channel. We have gameplay on Crackle's channel. We have a general coverage of the campaign, general coverage of the game on Crackle's channel. Lots of content for the game. This is effectively, like I said already, is a deck building arena game. Let me see if I can find a screenshot of the actual board so we can talk about it. Past the cards. There's this over here. So we have this battle board over here. There's going to be various tokens that go on the board as well that have gameplay impact, so it's not just a board. There's also going to be various spots you can land on for different effects, but past that, you're going to have an individual robot with his pre-painted miniature. So those miniatures you're seeing in the campaign, they are pre-painted. I don't know what the final copies will look like, but I can tell you the prototype copy will look delightful. So if they're anything like the prototype, we're in good hands there. Past that, the game is going to involve you having your deck, and then deck building, just like you imagine most deck builders have. You have your standard starting cards, and then you deck build past that, trying to develop your character. Are you going to be a heavy melee character? Are you going to be tons of range attacks? Are you going to be trying to focus on your economy? What aspects are you going to do in the game that give you that advantage over other players, just like any other deck building game? There's going to be the standard market of cards, plus some preset cards, so you always have some options that will match what you're trying to do. Lots of different options available to you as you slowly build out your deck, and ultimately take out your opponents. Now, this is not a player elimination style game. As players are eliminated in the game, they're going to pop right back up. You get points for dealing damage to people, and you get additional points for eliminating them. So you are incentivized to take people out, but people are coming right back into the game. There is no elimination in the game. It's just keep on rinsing and repeating until eventually the life pool in general of the game has been used up, and then whoever has the most damage across the board is going to ultimately win from, well, dealing the most damage and having the most points in that sense. There's also going to be some expansions to the game. So for the puzzles we have over here are going to be $49 for the basic tier. That's giving you an $11 discount. Now, they're not saying MSRP. I imagine that this, though, is them saying MSRP. I imagine the $11 discount is the fact that this game will be a $59.99 MSRP, which means the price point's going to be somewhere in the range of $45 online. So why would you pay $49 for a game that's going to cost $45, and plus you're paying shipping as well, so you're going to be paying $59 or somewhere in that range for a game that you can get online for $45? Well, the reason is going to be these stretch goals that are included, because there are going to be this Kickstarter exclusive card and tile pack with additional exclusive being unlocked as the campaign progresses. So you're paying for the extra exclusive content over there. Past that, for that's $49 for the base pledge, $89, an additional $40 is going to give you 3 more packs and an additional $20 savings, which means I imagine they're saying these packs are going to be $19.99 or $20 basically per pack. You'll probably be able to get them available for roughly $15, although factor in that the Dozer pack is Kickstarter exclusive. So again, even there, we still have Kickstarter exclusive content if you're interested in that. Past that, what are the packs bringing you? Well, the packs are bringing you another miniature with another character and their specific gameplay aspect. That is a slight shift to the game. For me, the additional miniatures, past the fact that they look pretty, is not less of a selling point than the fact that they all give you a modification that changes up the game. So in Expansion 1, we have Jaws, we have the upgrade mechanic. These are going to be cards that permanently upgrade your character. They're not cards that are in your hand, you play them, and they go into your discard pile. They are permanent upgrades to your character. That's fun. I like that stuff. In fact, in our review, in our coverage of the game, we talked about how we wanted more. This is going to be one of those mores. Then we have the Kettle expansion, which is giving you the defense expansion. The defense mechanic. The defense mechanic is going to be similar to bases and Star Realms. Similar to permanent upgrades, they're not permanent. They are upgrades that stay in place until they are damaged and then removed and then go to discard pile. So kind of a hybrid of the deck building and then the upgrade mechanic. So giving you a little more stuff over there to think about. And then we have Dozer, who's going to be Kickstarter exclusive, is going to be giving you event mechanic. These are going to be cards that trigger events as you get those cards. So again, they're all giving you an additional small shift to the gameplay. Small shifts that I want. My only complaint is I don't just want a handful of cards. I want 50 defense cards, and I want 50 upgrade cards, and I want 50 event cards, as opposed to what they're getting right now. So I just want more, is what I'm saying. Additionally, all packs are also going to give you additional tiles, which is whatever tile rules they add to the game as well. So it's giving you a lot of content for those packs, a lot of content over there, which links us to $82, $89 plus shipping to get what is basically a deck building skirmish game with a lighter theme and cartoon style, whatever, but it's light, easy to jump into, but with the additional content is giving you enough variability. So, should you back it, should you not? This is going to follow Wise Wizard's typical things from Sorcerer, from Star Realms, from any of their games, which is their games are available cheaper in retail. If you're willing to wait, you can get the content available cheaper in retail. If you're paying the higher price now, you will get exclusive content, usually in the form of promo packs, extra cards, extra stuff. If you go through these stretch goals, which we kind of skipped through, you can see over here, here's going to be all the stretch goals we're at so far, which is going to be the stretch goals, the heat ray cards, pogo sticks, grappling hooks, onwards and so forth, continue to unlock as the campaign progresses. So you're going to get an exclusive promo pack full of extra cards. If you want that, then by all means pay the extra $10, $15 to go ahead and get that stuff now. Additionally, factor in that Dozer as an expansion is going to be Kickstarter exclusive. So that's going to be your retail versus Kickstarter aspect. In terms of secondhand market, the secondhand market, you can likely get this game cheaper if you're patient. That's mostly been true for most of the games that have followed this strategy, giving you small extra Kickstarter exclusive packs, not a ton of content, but extra content. Generally, if you're willing to wait, you can pick them up in the secondhand market for a slight savings, not a major savings. I wouldn't say that definitely wait till retail, because definitely wait till the secondhand market, because you can get it much cheaper. There's going to be a savings for sure, but not for sure. There's likely going to be a savings on getting that Kickstarter exclusive content compared to backing it now, but not necessarily so much that I'm encouraging you to wait, as opposed to ultimately decide if you're interested in the game and what you want from all that content. Moving on. Two left. We have Castlescape. Castlescape, designed by Josh Horsley from Praetorian Board Games. This is going to be a game. I have the coverage of this on my channel already. I get a review of it on Saturday, I want to say. On Saturday, I'm pretty sure. But this is going to be $50 to $5 for a deck building area control game. Now, the price point does seem high, but there's a few factors. Well, pro and con. First of all, price point wise, you're getting tons of little miniature castles along with the game. So you're getting a giant bag full of plastic. This is not just a card game. This is not just Dominion. There's going to be tons of little plastic in your game, because you need all those castles to go across the whole board. That's going to be in the pro side. The con side is the MSRP is $60, which means once you factor in shipping and $55, this is just, I have a hard time saying this is a good back, with a caveat. We'll come back to the caveat shortly. But a $60 MSRP with a $55 price point plus shipping means you're paying more than the MSRP to get this game. That is not a good thing. The gameplay itself is going to be rewarding. The gameplay is a fun, simple, it's a gateway plus game where you're deck building. I love deck building in general. If you notice a few deck building games today already, that's because I like deck, well, that's not, the games don't exist because I like deck building. I'm just saying I happen to like deck building. But it has deck building and area control. It's a good, simple game. It's rewarding what it's trying to do. I liked it most at 2 players, but even at 3 and 4, it's pretty good. And so it is a fun, simple game. That said, the price point is going to be the biggest thing against it. Now, to its credit, the caveat I gave, and credit's probably the wrong word, but right now with what do we have, 430 backers, there's no guarantee this will see retail availability. So, in terms of the price point versus retail, as of right now, and we're still potentially unlocking stretch goals, they're unlocking the insert, they might unlock more stuff as well, but as of right now, the price point versus retail is not worth it if we see retail availability. If we don't see retail availability, then the price point is basically the price point versus the secondhand market instead, and that's going to be a tough one because of the number of backers. I would assume you can get this cheaper on the secondhand market if you can find it. That's the always the same thing. We've talked about this before. Whenever you have a campaign with a small number of backers, even if the price point isn't great, sometimes it's your best bet if you want it. So that's ultimately the conundrum you'll find yourself if you're interested in this game. It's a fun, simple game. I'd love to see more from the system. I'd love to see expansion. I'd love to see the system grow. I just think the price point is a bit hard for what you're getting. It's going to make it hard for a lot of people to jumping in full-heartedly of, hey, I want this game. It's fairly expensive for the gameplay it is delivering. And that's it. That's going to be Castlescape. Moving on. Lastly, mostly, we have Paris L'Atoll. Paris is going to be the expansion for, well, Paris. This is going to be from Game Brewer, who, once again, is knocking out of the park with another Kickstarter. They're continuously just getting Kickstarter after Kickstarter. Granted, this one's an expansion, but still they have a ton of Kickstarter content just available. It's a lot of stuff over here. This is basically going to be more content for Paris. So if you like Paris, it's more content for that game you like. If you're jumping in for the first time, you're arguably getting a better deal than the first time round because you're paying the same $79 price point. Basically, the expansion is going to be $20. The big box is going to be, the big box with expansion is $99. So basically you're paying the $79 plus $20, but you're already getting the big box included in your pledge. So arguably a better deal for new people to the system than for returning backers who will get the expansion, but not in a fits all in one big box solution. So that's always a little frustrating for backers. I know it is what it is. It's the nature of putting out more content for games and the nature of an evolving life cycle. So that's going to be what goes on over there in terms of Paris and the expansion. In terms of price point, should you back it, should you not? Basically, Paris is going to fall in the range of, like most Game Brewer campaigns, if you look at the secondhand market on Paris, the $79, that's roughly what people are paying on the secondhand market, which means, like I've generally said with Game Brewer games, you're usually losing on roughly a shipping, give or take $5. If you can always find someone at some point who's willing to pay what you paid plus shipping, but then again, if you wait and you're not getting it right off the bat, then you may well end up losing $5-10 or maybe even $15, whatever it is, once you factor in the fact that you have paid for shipping, but you're not going to get that back for most people. Game Brewer games in general take a small ding on the secondhand market. They do a good job holding most of the value, but not all the value. I would say if you are someone who's a fan of Paris, go ahead and get the expansion on Kickstarter, because your options are getting the deluxe version on Kickstarter or hunting it down the secondhand market, which is always harder when the price point is this small. Those margins aren't worth it. You're still going to have to pay shipping. If you're interested in the expansion yourself, I would encourage you to go ahead and get it. If you're interested in the base game, I can make an argument either way. You can get it on Kickstarter, check the secondhand market, or just wait for retail and get the less deluxeified version of the game. Ultimately, it comes down to your priority system as usual. And that is going to be everything. An hour and 15 minutes, and we're not done yet, but we're done with all the stuff we're talking about. So, let's talk about a few things. Let's talk about our picks of the week. So my picks of the week are going to be as follows. My first pick of the week is going to be, in terms of value, my pick of the week is going to be The Witcher. I think The Witcher is going to be the best value here so far. I'm still not 100% confident in it, but I think in terms of the best value from the games we covered today, I think this is the most likely to be the best value from what we're seeing here. So again, I still want to see more. I still want to see if there's more exclusive. I still want to see what they come for the stretch goals, but I think this is the value pick of the week. In terms of my favorite game, Mosaic is going to be my pick of the week, although I will say I am very interested in Paperback Adventures, but ultimately I've played Mosaic. I have not played Paperback Adventures, which means I have to pick Mosaic. And yes, I am picking Mosaic as my pick of the week above The Witcher. I love The Witcher. I do. I love The Witcher a lot. Mosaic is the kind of game that is more likely to hit the table with my game group. Games like The Witcher, games with an adventuring system, reading from cards, deck building, fighting monsters. I have a smaller subset of people that I will play that with. Mosaic is likely to be more accessible to my general game group, and I tend to love tableau building games with engine building. Both these games are amazing, but if I'm picking one from the gameplay stance alone, I am picking Mosaic over The Witcher in that sense. So that's going to be my picks of the week. Lastly, in terms of coming up, what else did I miss this week? This week, like I said already, an hour and 15 minutes. This video is way too long, so I pushed off a few things that launched this week. I'm pushing them off to next week. Those things are going to be Fighters of the Pacific is going to be done next week. We're going to have Fjordar is going to be covered next week. This just launched. I want to give it some time, see what's coming. It's going to be covered next week. We're going to have War Room, a Larry Harris game. This is going to be the second edition of War Room, a highly ranked game on Board Game Geek. I will be talking about it next week. And then lastly, later this week, not next week, later this week, I will have a full dedicated video for the Isle of Cats, Don't Forget the Kittens, covering everything Isle of Cats, because there's a lot of stuff here. I mean, the all-in pledge on this game is going to run you, what is it? It's a lot of money. The all-in pledge on this game is currently going to run you $254 plus shipping. That's a lot of money for Isle of Cats, no matter how much you like it. But there's a lot of content. There's new stuff. There's old stuff. There's expansions. There's well, that's the new stuff. There's gonna be inserts. There's gonna be a whole lot of content. Plus a roll and write. There's a roll and write. There's a ton of things for this game. So I want to do a full deep dive on this one, because there's a lot of different ways to slice it up in terms of what's right for you and all the coverage on that. That is going to be everything coming up in terms of, well, next week, and then a Should You Back It video coming later this week. Until next time, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co., and I hope you have a good one. Yeah, still here as usual. So we're back. I am gonna go ahead, now that we're done here, I'm gonna go ahead and film my full video on all these games, covering all the reasons you should not back every single last one of them. That's not true, not entirely true. I don't actually do that. I'll be trying to find the reasons why you shouldn't back every one of them, with the caveats that sometimes things are just worth backing. But it's a series that I have. It's a Patreon exclusive series. I do it every Monday when I have a Should You Back It, covering why you shouldn't back all these games, trying to incentivize you not to back them. The good news, or bad news, depending on how you look at it, is many Kickstarter campaigns are not giving us good deals so much as they're giving us passable deals. When I have to sit there and wrestle with, you can get it on Kickstarter or you can get it on retail, that's not a good deal. That's just like, okay, great. I can argue it either way. So yeah, I will try to give you all the reasons why you should not back most of these games, at least the ones I can get away with trying to convince you of that, and that's going to be over on Patreon, or you can just not back any of them and save yourself the $5 on Patreon as well. Until next time, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co., and as always, have a good one.